Karen Whitmore snatched the $3 million certified check from Marcus Reed's hands and laughed right in his face. "People like you don't donate millions," she said, staring at his dusty work boots before looking over at his little daughter. "You should be asking for financial aid, not pretending to be somebody you're not." Then she leaned closer and added quietly, "We've had enough of your kind trying to fool this school." Lily squeezed her father's hand. "Daddy? Why is she talking to us like that?" Marcus didn't raise his voice. He simply looked at Karen and said, "You still have time to verify that check before you make a mistake you'll never recover from." She smirked, then tore the check into pieces in front of everyone. Just as security stepped forward to throw Marcus out, the front doors swung open. "Mr. Marcus?" the founder called, freezing in his tracks. He looked from Marcus to the torn pieces of the check scattered across the counter, then slowly turned to Karen, his face drained of color. "What did you do?" Before we get into the story, if you enjoy powerful stories about courage, justice, and people proving everyone wrong, hit that subscribe button. Now, let's go back to where it all began. Marcus Reed parked his old pickup truck in front of Lakewood Prep, the same way he always did. Nose in, engine off, no rush. His daughter Lily unbuckled her seatbelt before he even turned the key. "Are we really doing this today, Daddy?" she asked, bouncing a little in her seat. "We are," Marcus said. He reached into the back seat and picked up a thick folder, sealed shut, the kind of folder that meant business. Lily grabbed his hand as they walked toward the school entrance. Her small fingers barely wrapped around two of his. Around them, parents dropped off kids, teachers waved students inside, and the morning rush moved like it always did, fast, loud, and full of people who had somewhere to be. Marcus wore his usual work boots. Dust from a job site still clung to the sides. His jeans were faded. His flannel shirt was buttoned wrong at the collar because he'd rushed getting Lily ready that morning. He didn't look like a man carrying $3 million in a folder. That was exactly how he wanted it. At the front desk, a woman named Karen Whitmore looked up from her computer. She was the head of admissions, and she took one look at Marcus before he even said a word. She saw the boots first, then the truck through the window behind him, then Lily's slightly worn backpack. "Can I help you?" Karen asked, her voice already flat. "Good morning," Marcus said. "I'd like to speak with the head of development, please." Karen blinked. "The head of development? Yes, ma'am." She let out a short laugh, the kind people give when they think they've heard a joke. "And what would this be regarding?" "A donation," Marcus said simply. Karen's eyes moved to Lily, then back to Marcus. "A donation," she repeated, like the word tasted strange in her mouth. "Yes. You?" The word came out sharp, almost cruel, and a few parents nearby turned their heads. Lily felt her father's hand tighten slightly around hers, but his face stayed calm. "Yes, ma'am," Marcus said again, steady. "Me." Karen leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. "Sir, I think you might be looking for the tuition assistance office. It's down the hall." "I'm not here for assistance," Marcus said. "I'm here to make a donation to the school." He set the folder down gently on the counter and opened it. Inside was a certified check, the kind that comes from a bank, signed, sealed, official. Karen's eyes dropped to the number written across it. $3,000. For a second, her face went blank. Then she laughed again, louder this time. "Where did you get this? Did you print this at home?" "It's certified," Marcus said. "You can call the bank." "I don't need to call anybody," Karen snapped. "I know a fake when I see one." By now, more people had noticed. A few parents slowed their steps near the front desk. A group of students walking to class glanced over, then whispered to each other. Lily looked up at her father, confused. "Daddy, why is she being mean?" she whispered. Marcus knelt slightly, keeping his voice soft. "It's okay, baby. Just stand close to me." Lily nodded. But she didn't let go of his hand. Behind the desk, a young receptionist named Emma had been watching the whole thing. She leaned toward Karen. "Ma'am, we can verify certified checks in under 2 minutes. I can call the bank right now." "No," Karen said, cutting her off. "I've seen this trick before. People come in here acting proper, waving around fake papers, trying to look important." She turned back to Marcus. "I want to see identification." Marcus pulled out his driver's license without arguing and placed it on the counter. Karen barely glanced at it before sliding it back. "Anyone can make a fake ID too," she said. By now, a small crowd had gathered. Someone had their phone out, recording. A woman near the entrance whispered to her friend, "These scam artists are getting bold. They even bring kids now," another voice muttered. "That's low." Lily heard it. Her eyes welled up, and she pressed herself closer to her father's side, gripping his jacket like it was the only solid thing left in the room. "Why are they saying that about you?" she whispered. "You didn't do anything wrong." Marcus crouched down so he was eye level with her. "I know, sweetheart. Grown-ups sometimes say things before they know the truth. We're not going to argue with them. We're just going to wait." Karen crossed her arms tighter. "People like you don't walk in here donating millions of dollars," she said, her voice calm, almost pleasant, which somehow made it worse. "Let's be honest about that." A few parents in the crowd shifted uncomfortably, but no one said anything. Marcus took a breath. "Ma'am, I understand you have a job to do. All I'm asking is that you call the issuing bank. That's it. 2 minutes, like your coworker said." Karen's jaw tightened. She grabbed the phone off the receiver, more to prove a point than to actually check anything. She dialed the number printed on the check and put it on speaker so everyone could hear. "This is going to be good," she muttered under her breath. The line rang twice before a calm voice answered. "Thank you for calling First Union Trust. How may I direct your call?" "I need to report a fraudulent check," Karen said almost proudly. "One moment, please." The line clicked. Karen smirked at the crowd like she'd already won. Then the voice came back. "I'm connecting you to our chairman's office." Karen's smirk faltered. "The chairman? One moment." A new voice picked up, older, deep, authoritative. "This is Alan Whitcomb. Who am I speaking with?" "Karen Whitmore, Lakewood Prep. I'm reporting a fraudulent donation check." "Whose check?" "Marcus Reed." There was a pause, a long one. "Do not touch that check," the voice said. Karen let out a short, nervous laugh. "I'm sorry? I said do not touch it. Where is Mr. Reed right now?" But Karen wasn't listening anymore. She was already reaching for the check on the counter, her hands shaking slightly with frustration. Before Marcus could say a word, she grabbed it and tore it in half. The room went silent. She tore it again. "There," she said. "Problem solved." The voice on the phone, still on speaker, spoke slowly. "Did you just destroy Mr. Reed's certified check?" Karen froze. Every single person in that lobby heard it. Parents, students, teachers walking by, all of them stopped and stared at the torn pieces of paper now scattered across the counter. Karen hung up the phone without answering. Lily looked up at her torn check, then at the frightened faces around her, then at her father. "Daddy, what just happened?" Marcus didn't answer right away. His jaw was tight, but his voice stayed calm. "It's all right, Lily. Stay close." Karen straightened her blazer, trying to regain control of the room. "Security," she called out. "I need someone to escort this man off the property." "I haven't done anything wrong," Marcus said quietly. "I'll wait right here." "You'll wait outside," Karen said. 2 security guards arrived moments later. One of them, an older man named Duane, hesitated as he approached. Something about the scene didn't sit right with him. The torn check, the crying child, the calm way Marcus stood his ground. But he had a job to do. "Sir, I need you to come with us," Duane said, his voice low, almost apologetic. Lily grabbed her father's hand with both of hers, her small body trembling. "No, don't take my daddy," she cried, tears spilling down her cheeks. Marcus knelt beside her again, ignoring the guards for a moment. "Hey, look at me. I'm not going anywhere bad. I promise you, everything is going to be okay." "But they think you're a liar," she sobbed. "You're not a liar." "I know," Marcus said softly, "and soon everyone here is going to know it too." Just as Duane reached for Marcus's arm, the front doors of the school swung open. An older man walked in, dressed in a sharp gray suit, moving with the kind of ease that comes from 30 years of owning a place. This was Harrison Cole, the founder of Lakewood Prep. He wasn't there for Marcus. He had a completely different meeting scheduled that morning. But the second he stepped through the doors, he stopped cold. He saw the crowd, the torn paper on the floor, the security guards, the little girl crying, and then Marcus. Harrison's folder slipped from his hand and hit the floor. "Marcus?" The entire lobby went still. Marcus looked up, offering a small, tired smile. "Morning, Harrison." Karen stepped forward quickly, eager to explain herself. "Mr. Cole, we caught him trying to run a scam. Fake donation check. Fake identity, the whole thing. Harrison didn't look at her. His eyes stayed locked on Marcus, then dropped to the torn pieces of paper on the counter. "What is that?" he asked slowly. "That," Karen said, straightening with pride, "was his fake check. I destroyed it before it caused any real damage." Harrison's face went pale. "You destroyed his check?" "Yes," Karen said, still smiling. "You're welcome." Harrison closed his eyes for a long moment. Then he looked around at the crowd of parents, teachers, and students who were still watching, phones still raised, waiting to see what would happen next. "Karen," he said quietly, "you have no idea what you just did. If you've ever been judged because of how you look, what you wear, or what you drive, stay with this story until the very end. The ending proves that sometimes the quietest people leave the biggest impact." Welcome back. If you're enjoying the story so far, hit that subscribe button because what happens next completely turns the tables. Harrison Cole stood in the middle of the lobby, still staring at the torn check on the counter. Nobody moved. Even the security guards seemed unsure what to do next. "Someone get me a chair," Harrison said quietly, "and somebody turn off those phones." No one obeyed the second part. If anything, more phones came out. Harrison turned to Marcus, his voice softer now, almost shaking. "I am so sorry, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Marcus said. "Karen does." Karen straightened her blazer again, clearly trying to hold on to whatever authority she had left. "Mr. Cole, with respect, I was protecting the school. We get scam attempts all the time. I was doing my job." Harrison turned to face her fully now. "Karen, do you know who this man is?" "A man who walked in off the street with a fake check," she said. "He funded the new library," Harrison said. "The sports complex, the teacher hardship fund, half the scholarships this school hands out every year came from him, anonymously, for 6 years." The room went dead silent. A teacher near the back covered her mouth with her hand. A few parents exchanged stunned looks. Karen's face lost its color. That's not possible. He drives a pickup truck." "He didn't want recognition," Harrison said. "That was the whole point. He asked me personally never to tell anyone, and you just called him a thief in front of his daughter." Every eye in the lobby moved to Marcus. Some looked ashamed, some looked confused. A few students lowered their phones for the first time. Marcus knelt down and picked Lily up, even though she was getting a little big for it. She buried her face in his shoulder. "This isn't about me," Marcus said, loud enough for the room to hear. "It was never about me. It's about her and kids like her. That's all I ever cared about." Harrison nodded slowly, then turned to Karen. "You're suspended, effective immediately. We'll talk more once I understand exactly what happened here." Karen opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Security quietly stepped back from Marcus and toward her instead. Duane, the older guard, actually looked relieved. By that evening, the story was everywhere. One parent's video, only 40 seconds long, showed Karen tearing the check in half, and the chairman's voice asking if she'd really destroyed it. It had already been shared thousands of times. People argued in the comments about what they'd seen. Some defended Karen, most didn't. More videos followed. Different parents had filmed different angles. Someone had captured Lily crying, grabbing her father's hand as security approached. That clip hit people the hardest. The school's phone rang constantly. Reporters, parents, former students who remembered Karen from years ago. That's when the older stories started coming out. A woman named Patricia Nguyen posted a long message online. She said her son had been denied a spot in the school's gifted program 4 years earlier, despite qualifying scores, and Karen had told her privately that some families just don't fit the culture here. She hadn't said anything back then because she was scared of retaliation. Now she wasn't. A former teacher, Mr. Delgado, came forward too. He said he'd once reported Karen for mocking a student's accent in a private meeting, and nothing had ever come of the complaint. He still had the email he'd sent to the board, unanswered, sitting in his old inbox. One by one, people who had stayed quiet for years started speaking. Inside the school, Harrison called Emma into his office the next morning. She sat stiffly across from his desk, hands folded in her lap. "I need you to tell me everything," Harrison said. "Don't leave anything out." Emma took a breath. "I told her we could verify the check in 2 minutes. She told me to stay out of it." Later, when I said I was going to call the bank myself, she said if I didn't stop, she'd make sure I lost my job. Emma's voice cracked slightly. I have 3 younger siblings. I needed this job, so I stopped. You're not in trouble, Harrison said. I need the truth, not an apology. That is the truth, Emma said. I should have called anyway. I keep thinking about that little girl's face. Harrison nodded slowly. You did try. That matters more than you think. Duane was interviewed next. He admitted, without being pushed, that something about the whole situation had felt wrong from the start. He wasn't acting like someone hiding something, Duane said. He was calm. Scared people don't stay that calm. Guilty people don't stay that calm either. Not for that long. I knew it in my gut, but she gave the order, and I followed it. I've thought about that decision all night. Would you make the same choice again? Harrison asked. No, Duane said. I'd have asked more questions before I touched that man's arm. That night, Marcus sat on the edge of Lily's bed while she picked at the blanket, not quite ready for sleep. Daddy, she said quietly, can I ask you something? Anything. Would they have believed you, she said, if we didn't have all that money? Marcus opened his mouth to answer right away, the way he usually did with her questions. But this time, nothing came out. He thought about the boots, the truck, the way Karen's eyes had moved over him before she'd even heard him speak. He thought about how fast the room had turned once Harrison said his name, how nobody had apologized until they knew exactly how much money was involved. I don't know, baby, he finally said. I honestly don't know. Lily nodded, like she already expected that answer. She curled into her pillow. That's kind of scary. Yeah, Marcus said quietly, it is. He sat there a long time after she fell asleep, staring at nothing, turning the question over again and again in his mind. It wasn't the kind of question that had an easy answer, and he knew, deep down, that it was the real reason he couldn't just let this go quietly. By the end of the week, the school board called an emergency meeting. Reporters waited outside. Parents packed the hallway, phones still recording. Karen sat near the back, alone, no longer wearing her usual confident posture. Harrison stood at the front of the room. This isn't just about one bad afternoon, he said. We've learned this behavior has a pattern. Complaints were filed, complaints were ignored. That failure belongs to this school, not just to one employee. A board member cleared his throat. What do you propose we do? Harrison looked toward the back of the room, where Marcus sat quietly with Lily's hand in his. That's not my decision to make alone, he said. Mr. Reed has earned the right to decide what happens next. Every head in the room turned toward Marcus. He stood slowly, Lily still holding onto his sleeve. I don't want an apology, Marcus said. Words are cheap. I want to make sure this never happens to another family, no matter what they're wearing when they walk through that door. Karen shifted in her seat, staring at the floor. So here's what I want, Marcus continued. I want to know exactly how deep this goes. Every complaint, every excuse, every person who looked away. Harrison nodded firmly. Then that's exactly what we'll find. The room stayed silent, but something had shifted. This wasn't just a viral video anymore. It was becoming something the whole school would have to answer for. 2 days after the board meeting, Marcus got a call asking him to come in for a private conversation. No cameras this time, no parents, just him, Harrison, and 3 board members sitting around a long table in a conference room with the blinds shut. Marcus left Lily with a neighbor that morning. This wasn't a conversation for her to sit through. A woman named Diane Foster, the board chair, greeted him with a tight smile and a folder of her own. Mr. Reed, thank you for coming. We wanted to talk through next steps, away from all the noise. Marcus took a seat. All right. Diane opened her folder. First, I want to say, on behalf of the entire board, how deeply sorry we are for what happened. That should never have happened to you or your daughter in our building. I appreciate that, Marcus said, but I already told Harrison, I'm not here for an apology. Diane nodded like she expected that. Understood, which is why we've put together something more concrete. She slid a paper across the table. We'd like to offer a public apology at our fall assembly in front of the full school and press. We'd also like to name the new library after you, the Marcus Reed Library. Marcus glanced at the paper but didn't pick it up. There's more, Diane continued. Full tuition, covered permanently for Lily through graduation, a formal community award at our spring gala, and a compensation package for the distress caused, which we think you'll find more than fair. Marcus sat quietly for a moment, letting the offer sit in the room. Can I ask you something? He said. Of course. If I hadn't known Harrison personally, if he hadn't walked in when he did, what happens to me? Diane hesitated. I don't understand the question. I mean exactly what I said. If some other man had walked in today, wearing boots like mine, driving a truck like mine, with $3 million in a folder, and nobody in this building knew his name, what happens to him? Nobody answered right away. Because Karen didn't stop before tearing that check out of respect for the truth, Marcus continued. She stopped because a chairman's voice came through a phone. If that phone call hadn't happened, she tears it. Security removes me, and that's the end of the story. Nobody ever finds out I was telling the truth. Diane shifted in her chair. Mr. Reed, we understand your frustration. I don't think you do, Marcus said, calm but firm. You're offering me a library with my name on it. A library doesn't stop the next Karen from doing the same thing to the next father who walks in here. Harrison, who had been quiet until now, leaned forward. What are you asking for instead? Marcus finally picked up the paper, looked at it, then set it back down. I don't want my name on a wall, he said. I want change that outlasts me, something that still protects people even after everyone forgets my name. Diane folded her hands. We're listening. That night, Marcus sat at his kitchen table with a notepad, writing things down and crossing them out. Lily wandered in wearing her pajamas, rubbing one eye. Can't sleep? Marcus asked. She shook her head and climbed into the chair next to him. What are you writing? Rules, Marcus said. For the school. Rules like what? Marcus tapped his pen against the paper. Rules, so what happened to us doesn't happen to somebody else. Lily thought about that for a second. Like the boy in my class, Tobias? His mom picks him up in a really old car, and one of the other moms always looks at her funny. Marcus stopped writing and looked at his daughter. You notice that? Kids notice everything, Lily said simply. You just don't always say something. Marcus stared at her for a long moment, something clicking into place. He wrote one more line at the bottom of his notepad, underlined it twice, and finally closed it. Go on back to bed, he said softly. I think I finally know what to ask for. The following week, Marcus returned to the boardroom. This time he brought his notepad instead of a folder. I've thought about your offer, he said, sitting down across from Diane and the board. I'm turning it down. Diane blinked. All of it? All of it. No library, no gala, no compensation. A board member named Richard Cole, no relation to Harrison, frowned. Mr. Reed, that's an extremely generous offer. Most people wouldn't walk away from that. I'm not most people, Marcus said. And this was never about what I could walk away with. Diane leaned forward. Then what would satisfy you? Marcus opened his notepad and slid it across the table. Every donation above a certain amount gets independently verified before anyone can reject it. No more guessing based on how someone looks. Mandatory training on discrimination for every staff member who deals with the public. A way for staff to report bad behavior without fear of losing their job, because Emma almost lost hers for trying to do the right thing. A scholarship fund specifically for children being raised by single parents. And a written policy that every visitor gets treated with respect, no matter what they're wearing when they walk through that door. The room was quiet as Diane read through the list. This is significant, she said. Some of this would take real restructuring. Good, Marcus said. It should. Harrison spoke up. What about Karen? Marcus's jaw tightened slightly. She's not walking away from this with a warning. She's done real damage, and not just to me. Other families have already come forward. She needs to be gone, not suspended. Gone. And whatever board is out there that hands out her professional license, they need to know exactly what she did. Diane exchanged a look with the other board members. We've already begun that process, based on the investigation. Then finish it, Marcus said. All the way. 3 days later, Karen sat in Harrison's office one final time. Her usual confidence was gone, replaced by something smaller and more nervous. I've been at this school for 11 years, she said quietly. I know, Harrison said. Doesn't that count for something? Harrison folded his hands on the desk. Karen, we found 5 other complaints filed against you over those 11 years. All of them involved families who didn't look the way you expected wealthy or respectable families to look. All of them were dismissed without real investigation. Karen's eyes dropped to the floor. I want you to understand something, Harrison continued. This isn't just about the check. That was simply the moment everything finally caught up to you. I was trying to protect the school, Karen said, though her voice had lost its conviction. No, Harrison said, you were protecting your own assumptions, and a 9-year-old girl watched you do it. Karen didn't have a response to that. Your employment here is terminated effective today, Harrison said. We're also required to report this to the state licensing board, given the pattern of behavior. What happens after that is out of our hands. Karen stood slowly, gathering the small box of items from her desk that had already been packed for her. At the door, she paused. Tell the little girl I'm sorry. Harrison shook his head slowly. Tell her yourself, if you ever get the chance. Karen left without another word. That evening, Marcus told Lily everything, sitting on the porch steps as the sun went down. So the mean lady is gone? Lily asked. She's gone, Marcus confirmed. And they're going to help kids like Tobias? That's the plan, Marcus said. New rules so nobody gets treated the way we did. Not because of what they wear. Not because of what they drive. Lily leaned her head against his arm. You didn't take the library with your name on it. No, Marcus said. I didn't. Why not? That would have been kind of cool. Marcus smiled faintly. Because buildings don't protect people, baby. Rules do. And rules last a lot longer than my name on a wall. Lily nodded slowly, like she was turning that idea over in her mind, filing it away somewhere she wouldn't forget. If you're enjoying the story and you're proud of the stand Marcus took, hit that like button. Comment I stand with Marcus if you're rooting for him. And subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens when the school is finally forced to answer for everything. 3 weeks passed before the changes actually started to show. Harrison called another meeting, this time smaller. Just Marcus, Diane, and 2 board members who had been quiet through most of the earlier meetings. One of them, a man named Gregory Voss, hadn't said much in any of the sessions. That was about to change. Before we talk about the new policies, Diane said, there's something the board needs to address. Gregory, would you like to explain, or should I? Gregory shifted in his seat. I'll do it. He looked at Marcus directly. 3 of those 5 complaints against Karen crossed my desk over the years. I read them. I filed them away without much of a follow-up. I told myself they weren't serious enough to escalate. Why didn't you? Marcus asked. Gregory rubbed his hands together, choosing his words carefully. Karen brought in a lot of donor relationships. She was good at making wealthy families feel important. I didn't want to disrupt that. I convinced myself the complaints were exaggerated. They weren't, Marcus said. No, Gregory admitted. They weren't. Diane cleared her throat. Gregory has offered his resignation from the board, effective today. Marcus studied Gregory's face for a moment. There was no anger in it, just tiredness, the look of a man who'd finally run out of ways to excuse himself. I don't need you to disappear, Marcus said. I need this board to actually do its job going forward. If stepping down is what accountability looks like to you, fine. But don't let this be the end of the conversation. Every board member in this room needs to ask themselves the same question he just answered. Diane nodded slowly. We will. All of us. Emma's promotion was announced the following Monday, posted on the staff board without much fanfare, exactly the way she preferred it. Harrison called her into his office personally to tell her first. You're being moved to Assistant Director of Admissions, he said. Full authority over verification procedures, reporting directly to me instead of whoever holds Karen's old position. Emma sat there for a second, stunned. I almost lost my job for trying to make one phone call. I know, Harrison said. That's exactly why it should be you. You already know what silence costs. Most people in that position never learn that lesson until it's too late. What if I make mistakes? Emma asked. You will, Harrison said. Everyone does. But you already proved something Karen never did in 11 years. You were willing to be wrong about being fired instead of being right about staying quiet. Emma didn't fully understand what that meant until she left his office, But by the time she reached her old desk, now stacked with new folders labeled Director, she felt it settle into her chest like something solid. Duane's situation played out differently. Harrison met with him one-on-one in the break room, away from the office and its formality. "You're not losing your job," Harrison said. "But you are required to go through retraining before you return to full duty." Duane nodded, already expecting it. "That's fair." "I want to understand something," Harrison said. "You told the investigators you knew something felt wrong. Why didn't you say anything at the time?" Duane leaned back against the counter, arms crossed. "Because Karen outranked me. Because questioning her in front of a crowd like that would have cost me my job on the spot, and I've got 2 kids at home. I made a calculation. It wasn't the right one. What would you do differently?" I'd have asked her quietly before doing anything. Just one question. "Are you sure?" That's all it would have taken to slow things down. Duane shook his head. "I keep replaying it. That little girl's face when she grabbed his hand. I think about that every night." "That's why you're not losing your job," Harrison said. "A man who still loses sleep over it 3 weeks later isn't the problem we need to fix. He's exactly who should be standing at that desk." Duane went through the retraining without complaint. When he returned to the front doors 2 weeks later, he made a point of greeting every single visitor personally, no matter what they were wearing. The new policies rolled out gradually over the following month. Any donation above $10,000 now required independent bank verification before any staff member could question or reject it. No staff member, regardless of position, could refuse a verification call. Every employee who interacted with the public went through mandatory training on bias and discrimination, led by an outside firm the board had hired specifically for the job. An anonymous reporting line was set up, monitored by someone outside the school entirely, so no staff member would ever again face the choice Emma had faced. And the Scholarship Fund for Children of Single Parents launched with its first round of applications, funded partly by Marcus and partly by donors who had reached out after seeing the story unfold online. Marcus reviewed every policy document personally before it was finalized. He didn't trust the process to run itself just yet. Karen's fallout, however, moved slower and hit harder than she expected. The state licensing board that reviewed her credentials opened a formal investigation based on the school's report and the pattern of complaints. Word spread through professional circles quickly. 2 other schools that had been in talks to hire her for consulting work quietly withdrew their offers without explanation. She tried reaching out to former colleagues for references. Most didn't respond. One did, briefly, only to say she wasn't comfortable putting her name behind Karen's application. At home, Karen sat with a stack of unopened mail, most of it related to the ongoing investigation. Her phone buzzed with a message from an old friend, someone she hadn't spoken to in years. "I saw the video. I can't believe that was you." Karen didn't respond. She set the phone down and stared at the wall for a long time, thinking about 11 years of assumptions she'd never once questioned. Back at the school, Marcus stopped by one afternoon to check on the scholarship program's progress. Lily came along, swinging her backpack as they walked through the hallway. A young boy near the lockers waved at them. It was Tobias, the boy Lily had mentioned weeks earlier. "Hey, Lily," he called out. "Hi, Tobias," Lily waved back, then turned to her father. "That's the boy I told you about, the one with the old car." Marcus watched as Tobias jogged over, his mother following a few steps behind, looking a little unsure of herself in this hallway full of families dressed sharper than hers. "Mrs. Alvarez?" Marcus asked, extending a hand. She shook it hesitantly. "Yes, you're Mr. Reed, right? Tobias talks about your daughter all the time." "I heard your son applied for the new scholarship fund," Marcus said. Her face shifted, cautious. "We did. I wasn't sure if we'd actually qualify." "You will," Marcus said simply. "That's exactly who it's for." Mrs. Alvarez's eyes filled up before she could stop them. "You don't understand what that means. Nobody at schools like this ever looks twice at us." "I do understand," Marcus said quietly. "More than you know." Lily tugged at her father's sleeve as they walked away a few minutes later. "Did you see her face, Daddy?" "I did. That's why you did all this, right?" "Not just for us." Marcus put his hand on her shoulder. "That's exactly why." Back in the boardroom, Diane closed out the final report on the new policies, sliding it across the table toward Marcus one last time. Everything you asked for is in place, she said. Verification protocols, training, the reporting line, the scholarship fund. Karen's investigation is moving forward independently of us now. Marcus scanned through the document slowly, checking each line against the notes he'd once scribbled at his kitchen table. "This is good," he said finally. "Is it enough?" Harrison asked. Marcus closed the folder and looked up. "It's enough for now, but someone's got to keep watching. Rules only work if people actually follow them once the cameras stop recording." Diane nodded. "We'll make sure of it." Marcus stood, buttoning his jacket. "I hope so. Because next time, there might not be a chairman on the other end of that phone call." 6 months passed before Marcus and Lily walked through the doors of Lakewood Prep again, for anything other than a meeting. The truck was the same, still rattling slightly at stoplights. The boots were the same, still dusted from a job site he'd visited that morning. Nothing about how they looked had changed, but everything about how people looked at them had. "Mr. Reed," a teacher called out from across the lobby, waving warmly. "We weren't expecting you today?" "Just stopping by," Marcus said. "Wanted to see how things are going." "Come see for yourself," she said, gesturing toward the courtyard. "It's scholarship day." Lily perked up immediately. "Is that the day they give out the awards?" "That's exactly the day," the teacher said, smiling down at her. They walked together toward the courtyard, where rows of chairs had been set up facing a small stage. Families filled almost every seat, some dressed sharply, others in simple clothes that looked a lot like what Marcus wore every day. Nobody stared at any of them differently. Harrison spotted them from the stage and stepped down to greet them personally. "Marcus? Lily? Glad you both could make it." "Wouldn't have missed it," Marcus said. Harrison lowered his voice slightly. "Emma's running the verification process now for every donation that comes through. Hasn't had a single complaint in 6 months. Dwayne's actually training the new hires on how to greet visitors." "And the scholarship fund?" Marcus asked. Harrison smiled. "That's actually why I asked you to come today. Come sit up front." The ceremony began simply. A few teachers spoke about the importance of opportunity, about kids who might have been overlooked in years past finally getting a fair shot. Marcus listened quietly, one arm around Lily's shoulders. Then Harrison stepped up to the microphone. "This year, our scholarship fund for children of single parents received more applications than any program in this school's history. We were able to fund every single one of them." The crowd applauded. Lily clapped along, bouncing slightly in her seat. "But there's one award I'd like to hand over to someone special," Harrison continued. "Lily Reed, would you like to come up here?" Lily froze, looking up at her father. "Me?" Marcus nodded, giving her shoulder a gentle squeeze. "Go on." She walked up to the stage slowly, a little shy under the weight of everyone watching. Harrison handed her a small envelope and knelt down slightly to talk to her. "This year's first scholarship goes to a young girl named Maya Alvarez," he said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Tobias's little sister. Would you like to give it to her?" Lily's face lit up. "Yes." A small girl walked up from the front row, her mother trailing behind with tears already forming in her eyes. Lily handed her the envelope with both hands, the way her father always handed over important things, careful and steady. "Congratulations," Lily said, beaming. Maya hugged the envelope to her chest. "Thank you." The crowd applauded again, but Marcus barely heard it. He was too busy watching his daughter's face, remembering the exact same steadiness in her eyes that she'd shown months earlier, standing in this same lobby, gripping his hand while strangers called him a liar. After the ceremony, families mingled across the courtyard. Mrs. Alvarez made her way over to Marcus, wiping her eyes with a tissue. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. "This changes everything for us." "You don't need to thank me," Marcus said. "Just make sure Maya knows she earned this. The fund only opens doors. She's the one who has to walk through them." Mrs. Alvarez nodded, glancing over at her daughter, who was already talking animatedly with Lily near the refreshment table. "Tobias told me what happened here," she said quietly. "Everyone knows the story now." "It's not really about the story," Marcus said. "It's about what happens after people stop watching." She looked at him for a long moment. "Still, thank you for not walking away." Later that afternoon, as the crowd thinned out, Marcus and Lily walked back toward the truck, the same one that had sparked so much doubt 6 months earlier. This time, 3 different families stopped them just to say hello. One teacher jogged over just to shake Marcus's hand. "Feels different," Lily said, climbing into the passenger seat. "It does," Marcus agreed. "Nobody looked at your boots today." Marcus laughed softly. "No, I don't think they did." They drove in comfortable silence for a while, the school shrinking behind them in the mirror. Lily stared out the window, watching the buildings pass by. "Dad," she said finally, "can I ask you something?" "Always." "Why didn't you just take your money somewhere else? After what they did to you, I mean. There are other schools." Marcus kept his eyes on the road, thinking about the question for a moment before answering. "Because if I'd walked away," he said, "Karen would still be at that desk. Maya wouldn't have that scholarship. Emma would still be scared to make a phone call. Duane would still be following orders he didn't believe in." He glanced over at her. "If one door closes on a family like ours, and we just find another door somewhere else, the next family still walks into that same closed door. I'd rather stay and force it open, so it's open for whoever comes after us." Lily thought about that quietly, watching the road ahead. "That's kind of what you always say," she said, "about helping people who can't help themselves yet." "It is," Marcus said. "I'm glad we stayed," Lily said, "even though it was scary." "Me too, baby." That night, after Lily had gone to bed, Marcus sat on the porch alone, looking out at the quiet street. His phone buzzed with a message from Harrison. "Just wanted you to know, the state board officially revoked Karen's license today. Thought you'd want to hear it from me first." Marcus read the message twice, feeling no real satisfaction in it, just a quiet sense that something had finally closed the way it should have. He typed back a short reply. "Thank you for telling me. Make sure the policies stay in place. That matters more than anything that happens to her now." Harrison responded almost immediately. "They will. You made sure of that." Marcus set the phone down and looked up at the sky, thinking about the folder he'd carried into that lobby 6 months earlier, the torn check, the fear on his daughter's face, the slow, steady work of turning all of that into something that would outlast both of them. He thought about Emma, now trusted with real authority. About Duane, greeting every visitor with the same careful attention he wished he'd given Marcus from the start. About Maya, holding that envelope like it was the most important thing she'd ever received. None of it had come from a building with his name on it. None of it needed to. The porch light flickered slightly above him, and somewhere down the street, a car passed by, headlights sweeping briefly across the yard before disappearing into the night. Marcus stayed out there a while longer, letting the quiet settle around him before finally heading inside to check on his daughter one last time before bed. If this story meant something to you, don't forget to leave a like. Comment your favorite moment below and subscribe for more stories that remind us why character always matters. See you next time.